all in Timbuktu. These droughts you didn't.
All praise, all honor, all glory to the supreme intellect of the universe, Yah, our forefathers, Yah, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Thanking the merciful King for allowing us to make it to another day. Today is I'm gonna give you a short lesson, and I'm gonna try to do that while I'm in between tours. Come back and give you a short lesson so you can pick up something. Hopefully, you gain something from what I'm teaching. I am Nasi Yashuvel, the Shomer HaTorah, also of the Hebrew Israelite, the Hebrew War Machine. Is a universal group, a collective group of United Israelites coming together in unity and sharing knowledge, and basically a research team to defend the name of the Creator. I also want to have you aware that we're throwing, Shomer HaTorah is throwing a camping trip July 25th through the 28th. You can contact me at hebrewmore@gmail.com for more information. If you want to be a part, if you want to be a part of one of the main speakers, just call me or email me, and I'll get you on there. Let's do this thing big. The camping trip is exciting. You don't want to miss it, brothers and sisters. Also, March 2nd, which is this weekend, we have me, Minister Inky, Lord Abba, Lord Gabriel, KT, Elder Abraham, and also Ankh from the Armor Squad is going to be speaking on family matters at 1386 Ralph David Abernathy, which is Shomer HaTorah, this weekend, Sunday at 2 o'clock. I'll be in Ohio, March the 21st, the 22nd, and 23rd, so also check me out. We'll be at Columbus, we'll be in Cleveland, we'll be in Cincinnati, so make sure you check us out. We're doing this for the people. We're trying to uplift the people and bring back a spirit that's second to none. There's also a brother named Maharakwa. The brother is also in Georgia, and he has the Pre-Jerusalem project that he is building. Go to prejerusalemproject.org, check it out. We're talking about Israelite communities coming together, buying land, and coming together and building communities. I mean, we're only attaching ourselves with groups that's doing something, that's pushing and motivating Yisrael. Also, we have the UNY, which is the United Nations of Yisrael. Of this, you have Elder Abraham, Nasi Kamu, just to name a few. And what these people are doing is they're showing brothers and sisters how to regain their political sovereign status and how to become a legal citizen. See, you say legal, we all legal. No, we're equitable citizens at this point. And he's going to be talking about UCC and changing your legal status. So check out the UNY. This is very important, brothers and sisters. We don't want to be walking around here without administrative power over ourselves. So these brothers are teaching us how to have administrative power over ourselves. That's something that we need as a people, or we're just going to be legal paper slaves. Also, check out my brother Daniel on Power Talk. It's called Voices of Israel, live from the Holy Land. You catch them 7 a.m. on Saturday mornings. And they're talking and they're bringing live from Israel, and they're speaking on topics that we need to hear. And also, last but not least, check me out on the Beehive, on Blog Talk Radio, the Beehive, at 11 p.m. on Thursday night. We're trying to do big things. We're trying to uplift the name of the Creator and put our people, brothers and sisters, back on the map. We're trying to raise kings and queens. Now, I want to go into, before I go into the lesson, I want to also, if you haven't seen this is Ancient Science of Love. If you haven't got you a copy, this is my book. I put it together about a year ago. It's a beautiful book. I mean, it's selling now, and people are picking it up. It's a relationship book. It also has some of the science you hear me drop in a debate or in certain discussions you hear me speak about. A lot of that science is in here. It's dealing with spirituality. It's dealing with relationships from different views, even Quran quotes, Circle 7 quotes, Noble Drew Ali quotes. It's covering a broader area. So check this book out. You go on Amazon and you can get it. Also follow me at Nasi79 on Instagram, and Nasi Yashuvel on Facebook. So reach out to me, link up. If you have any ideas, you want to do something for your nation, let me know about it. We can get it moving. Now the lesson today is called Taking Back Their Temple. Taking back your temple is a very important lesson, because many of us seen when Titus sacked the temple and took the menorah and walked off, and you've seen it on the wall. You've seen when Babylon destroyed our land. You've seen our temple constantly getting destroyed. But that temple is only a physical representation of your spiritual temple. And today, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the Torah, the cosmology of the Torah, and the knowledge of self that's inside the Torah and the sacred science that it presents and brings forth to the people. Because if we don't understand Torah from that level, then we don't understand who we are, and we can't go through the transformation process of making ourselves a better people. This is something that we have to understand. So when you see in the scriptures, when it talks about better sheep, which means in the head or in the mind, we can go and understand that that portion is talking about things that's dealing in the beginning of time, but also is an allegory that alludes to the mind in itself, and it's talking about the brain. From all the way from the Garden of Eden to the tabernacle to the temple, these are physical representations of a temple, but it's talking about your spiritual temple and the physical body in itself and how to attain a certain level of consciousness. Now, many brothers are always talking about consciousness, but are you truly conscious? Consciousness is a behavior. Consciousness is an enlightenment. That's what consciousness means. It means enlightenment. That you have seen a light or connected to a divine light, which the Greeks call the logos, or in Hebrew the word light means or. This is something that we as a people can connect with that allow us to take us to another level. You are that people. You can connect and tap into a spiritual existence. And I want to show you how the Torah shows in different ways and different allegories or ways that it alludes to different scientific parts of your human anatomy that could cause you to tap into this beautiful and divine light. When we go into the Garden of Eden, I want to go into Genesis, better sheep, the 2nd chapter, the 8th verse. It says, Yah Elohim planted a garden in Eden to the east. Now, when we say better sheep in the mind, east is representing the right hemisphere of the brain. The place where man had been formed. And Yah caused him to sprout from the ground every tree that was pleasing in his sight and good for food, as the tree of life in the midst of the garden and a tree of knowledge and good and evil. Now, he said there's trees, but there's also 2 other trees, but we'll touch on them trees if we get into it later. But the Creator says he leaves trees for food. Now, if you look inside, how is that connecting to the brain? That's talking about something physical. Yes, it is talking about something physical, but it also alludes to a spiritual aspect, and I'll break it down. In your brain, what you have is little nerves called dendrites. What the dendrites do is connect and they send signals all throughout the body, and they create through the brain and they pick up on signals and frequencies. These dendrites are shaped like trees, but if you don't believe me, the word dendrites in itself means trees. It's a Latin word for tree. So it said food, food. This is where the term food for thought comes in, when you see it and you hear it. So now we're talking about when the scriptures is breaking down something physical and alluding to something else that's spiritual and dealing with your anatomy. We can keep on going on. When you read on in Genesis, the 2nd chapter, the 10th verse, it talks about the 4 rivers that are in the Garden of Eden. Now, if you go into the Stedman's Medical Dictionary, you see that there's 4 cranial canals inside the brain that nourishes the brain. Coincidence? No, it's not. Our Torah is a representation of science and divine science. Is this some Jewish mystic teaching? No, it's not. You won't find this in no books or Jewish books or anything of that nature. So bear with me, brothers and sisters, as we take a journey through this knowledge. Also, you see in the scriptures where the Creator says that, and at the garden he'll place a flaming sword. Now that sword represents an academy. Every time you see a sword or a scepter inside of it, it represents in the cosmos, it represents either a light or a comet or a star. In this case, it's representing cosmic energies or solar energy. That revolving, that rotation of the solar disk. The solar circuit goes through its tour in itself throughout the 12 zodiacs. This is how you can connect through spirituality and connecting through the Creator to unlock that that 3rd eye, that consciousness to connect. And we're going to get into the 3rd eye. This whole lesson is about taking back your temple, but you have to understand it in order for it to work. Then we go into the temple aspect in itself, and we can pull out certain things in the temple. You ever notice why certain things are mentioned? Why the scriptures is always talking about building a tabernacle, building a temple, what instruments they use, how they did it, how much of this they use? Because they're trying to explain to you how you work and you operate. For instance, there's two pillars that stand in the front of Solomon's temple, of the temple of Yahweh. And each pillar stands 23 cubits high. Now, what does 23 represent? Well, if you look at DNA strands, you have 23 chromosomes. 23 chromosomes, they come together. That's 46 chromosomes that make up the human body. The temple also has other representations. When you go in there, it says the temple was built for 7 years. But not a sound was heard, and not a tool was heard. Was there a physical temple? Yes, there was. But this is showing you also that a silence and nothing was heard that is alluding to 7 chakras. Now you may think that chakras are Chinese or Hindu or Buddhist type thoughts, but I'll go in and break down and show you that it's not. When we go into the Ark of the Covenant, you see that the Ark of the Covenant is covered by 2 cherubims. These cherubims are described to you as winged angels that cover, 4 wings that covered on each side, one side and another side. You have the right side and you have the left side. When you go to etymology, understand etymology, when you come into the English language, you see a word called cerebrum. Cerebrum derives from the word cherubim. So now when you look at it and you see that these things are connected, the Ark of the Covenant between the 2 cherubims is where the Creator speaks to His anointed ones. So this is located in your mind. Also inside the Ark of the Covenant, you have the pituitary gland, which is also a representation of the sphenoid bone, which is inside and carries the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland has 2 lobes. The 10 Commandments has 2 tablets. The pituitary gland secretes 10 secretions. The 10 Commandments has the tablets has 10 commandments on it. All of this stuff is relevant and is pure when we go through these words. And we have to understand it. The Creator tells us He'll take us through Mitzrayim. The word Mitzrayim means distress or troubles. He'll take us out of our troubles into a land flowing with milk and honey. You say, well, milk and honey, what does that mean? Canaan land is not flowing with milk and honey. It also is alluding to something that's dealing with the physical body. See, you have what you call the pituitary gland, which secretes white secretions. And then you have the pineal gland, which secretes golden secretions. Milk, honey. The correlation is clear in the science of the scriptures. You have to be able to accept it and understand it. But you yourself have to let go a lot of the doctrines that you were taught that holds you back. For those who use the argument that this is some new age thinking that's applied to an old ancient text, I would have to say this to my brothers and sisters. Now, a lot of people would say that this applies to some kind of new age thinking that I'm adding to an ancient text. This is not so, and I clearly will prove it. You see a lot of this stuff where you see chakras, you see third eyes opening, you see it in Egypt. You'll see it in a lot of Buddhist or Hindu writings. I want to show you something and share with you something. Let's look at the word Bharata, which / means India. The Bharata was a certain group or tribe, a mixed group of people. But if you mix the vowelization, because in different languages of different nations, the dialect and the tongue is different with the vowels only in certain aspects. When you look at Hebrew in the Bible, it also matches Sanskrit and Aramaic in some forms. But let's look at this word Bharata, which is India. It also translates, if you change the vowelization into the Ibar, Ibri, Ibrni, or Ibre. Now the Ibri, if you know it, the word Iver in Hebrew means to cross over, or Hebrew, which comes from the ancestor Iver. Not Abraham, further up the line. Now, when you go into Hindu traditions, they have deified a man called Brahma. And also a woman called Saraswati. If you understand where I'm going with this, you see in Brahma, if you change the vowelizations, you will get Abraham. And also Saraswati, take off the Swati, you have Sarah. Other nations deified our ancestors and our patriarchs. So it is understood how they can have a science that's similar to ours. If you look at the word chi, which means life energy, look at the word Kai, if you spell it in English, it's C-H-A-I, which also means life energies. These words are so similar. They also deal in the ancient and the Eastern customs with aura. The word aura derives from the Hebrew word or. If you go into the Brahmins are a priestly group who are supposed to be priests unto the nations. When you understand the Hebrews and understand their calling from the Almighty and Divine King, they are also supposed to be a priest unto the nations. In ancient times, there was a caste group. India dealt with caste groups. They dealt with the ruling caste. They dealt with the philosopher caste. They dealt with the warrior caste. They dealt with the welding caste. They dealt with the carpentry caste, the mason caste. They had different caste systems. Unlike us, we deal with race and chop it up into different ethnic groups, but their ethnic groups is what they brought into the community. Perfect example, you had a lot of what they call Indo-European groups that were part of the warring caste that came into India. There was a group called the Kalani. The Kalani is a modern word and an ancient word for the Jews or the Hebrews of ancient India. They were the philosopher caste. So they made up the philosophy of India and established the philosophy of India. If you look at Kuhikar Parushatma Khan, Kuhikar Parushatma Khan, he is an Indian historian and philosopher who explains the presence of Abraham in ancient India and the science that correlates with the two. See, when you get into the 7 chakras, you'll start to see that when you go into Genesis, the 22nd chapter, the 15th verse, you see that they talk about Beersheba. Now, 7 chakras are just energy springs, or springs of life energy. Beersheba is 7 wells, or 7 springs. They correlate to the same thing. When you see in Genesis, the 22nd chapter, the Almighty speaks to Abraham, and then when he speaks to Abraham, it says that Abraham dwelt in the land of Beersheba, meaning he dwelt in complete balance. Did he actually dwell in the place of Beersheba? Cain. Yes, he did. But there's a physical and there's a spiritual understanding to all of these things. See, the scriptures won't waste your time telling you where Abraham traveled from here and there if it didn't have a spiritual meaning or something that you can apply to yourself also. Our forefathers were geniuses and never take anything from them. And sometimes because our education is so dumbed down, we dumb down a divine book such as the Torah. Now, let us get back to, before we get back there, let's look at, if you look at a lot of towns or tribal Indian names or Chinese names and Japanese names, they correlate with Hebrew tribal names. The cities almost sound exactly alike. Also, let's look at the Japanese. When you get a chance, look at Japanese writings. Look at their letter system, their characters. Almost exactly like Hebrew. So you will see that the ancient Chinese sages used to teach with a breastplate with 12 stones in it. So don't get it like, just because we lack understanding of certain areas, that things can't be true. And I don't even want you to take everything I say face value. I want you to research it yourself. But don't attack me out of ignorance because we don't understand. Seek knowledge and information, and the Almighty will show you divine light. Now let's go back to the subject at hand, taking back our temple. There were 3 temples. There will be 3 temples. The first temple was a temple that was created by Solomon and the hands of workers who were divine. In that temple, you had all the gold, the precious metals in the world that it contained, and that they built up with. Then you have the spirit of the Creator, the Shekinah that rests inside of this temple. And also you had the divine fire from heaven, that fire, that light that ignited the soul. This first temple was the representation of the first man before the fall. He had contained the spirit of the Creator. His beauty was second to none. And he had a divine light. He connected with the divine consciousness. That temple was destroyed because of man's failure to adhere to the words of the Creator and the Almighty. Whether you want to call it the divine laws of Torah or the laws of Ma'at, these sacred laws were forsook by a group of people. Now, that second temple was built up. Now, this temple wasn't as grandeur. The splendor wasn't as great as the first temple. It didn't have the divine presence of the Creator, the Spirit, the Ruach of El Shaddai inside of it. It didn't have the fire from heaven, that light, that logos, that consciousness. But later what Herod did was build it up into splendor. It made it beautiful. He made it beautiful. Now Herod, the evil, wasn't a good king, but he tried to fit in with the Hebrews or the Jews of that area by building up the temple to the greatest degree and placing a lot of money inside of it. And for history fact, I don't know if you know it, but when they sacked the temple, when the Europeans sacked the temple, they took 1/3 of the earnings of the temple and built the Roman Colosseum. So one of your 7 wonders of the world was built off the money that came from the second temple. See, the second temple represents man. Though we decor ourselves today in splendor and glory and look good on the outside, we have no spirit inside of us, no consciousness, no divine light. And this is what we're missing. But the third temple will have all of this. So we have to understand where we're going. Inside the Torah, you see that our people, when they were building the tabernacle to the Creator, they bought 3 precious metals. Gold. Gold is the highest spirituality. Silver, mediocre. Copper represents the baseness of a mundane man. Why does gold represent high consciousness? Because gold does not tarnish no matter what weather. And it represents you, brothers and sisters, because those who are high and connected to the Creator cannot be tarnished at all, no matter what's going on around them. But then silver, on the other hand, is a strong metal and a valuable metal. Strength, but silver, what? Tarnishes. Copper in itself, you know, is the quickest, one of the quickest to tarnish or turn its color, and you have to keep on cleaning it. Copper is also represented inside the human body because man is made up of a certain degree of copper, and it needs copper for the organs to activate or for the organs to continue to work. So this represents man at the lowest level. Everything that's inside the scriptures is telling you how to get back to the highest level of consciousness. When you see history, you see people inside of this book. All the people that tried to destroy the nation of Israel takes the Ark of the Covenant and tries to destroy it. The Ark of the Covenant represents divine consciousness, and it also represents your pineal gland and your pituitary gland. This history is prophecy on what the nation is supposed to do in order for them to destroy our people. Come to find out that our people are the most targeted out of all nations. You read this in Psalms 83, verse 3. It said, "Thou hast taken crafty counsel against God's people." Let me read. "Against God's people and consulted against the hidden ones. They have come and let us cut off them all from being a nation, that the name of Yisrael may be no more in remembrance." So in it is saying that they're coming to cut off and destroy the name of Yisrael from being in existence. Do we not see that with people coming up and saying Yisrael never existed? But not only that, they're hiding your identity and showing who you are. We see time after time after slave ships, the name of the slaves that came over here that had Hebrew names. But they won't teach you this. But they go in and they take crafty counsel. They know that you are connected because you have melanin inside of you that is stronger than theirs, and you're connected to a divine entity and a power. Yod Hey Wav Hey. But how do they destroy you and cut you off from connecting to this God? Like I said, when you read in the scriptures, all the nations took our Ark of the Covenant from us. That Ark of the Covenant represents your pineal gland and pituitary gland. When you read in 1 Samuel, the 6th chapter, the 6th verse, you see when the Philistines were being cursed because they removed the Ark or pineal gland from the divine nation of Yisrael. And they said, "Let us put it on a cart. And if it goes the way of Bet Shemesh, then we know if it is God's will." But if it doesn't, then we know that it's just a fluke or a hoax. Now, our history tells our future. Our history tells how we operate. If the pineal gland or the Ark of the Covenant was to go the way of Beit Shemesh, you know it was of God. Well, what is this telling you? Beit Shemesh in Hebrew means the house or the sun, the house of the sun. That we activate our pineal gland through the sun. If it is activated through divine light and consciousness, then you know that this is of God. And the Ark of the Covenant went the way of Beit Shemesh and rested at Kirjath Yarim. In Hebrew, Kirjath means a meeting place, a dark meeting place. Yarim means darkness. Our pineal gland and the Ark of the Covenant rest in the dark recessions of our mind. What are things that they do to destroy our pineal gland? Fluoride in your water, your toothpaste. This calcifies and hardens your pineal gland and stops it from working. Remove all fluoride and shift to alkaline water. Also mercury. Mercury is in your tooth fillings. Why? You get that mercury, you're always swallowing it. It also does the same thing and poisons your pineal gland. Mercury is in all vaccinations. Smoking. Excessive amount of alcohol. These things destroy your pineal gland. They separate you from God. All of these things are promoted inside of our communities. It is time for you to decide to take back your temples. Now, we have been taught subconsciously to hate one another. We speak against each other. We speak in anger and malice. We tear down one another. They teach that the black people have a crab in a barrel mentality. That's so. Our people are poisoned because we're taught to trust the European and not trust the black man. Perfect example. I had a call for unity and I cried out for unity. People said I would not unify with a brother that does not believe in the Brit HaKadasha, the New Testament. That you are my enemy. But this is coming from the same people that go to a white man's job and work with homosexuals, work with people that don't follow the laws of the Creator, and put money in this European's pocket, building up the oppressive regime, and work just for a paycheck and unify with people who don't have the same views as our nation. But though we agree on Torah, we find something to disagree with, but fight each other. That's because you put more trust in the European than you do your own brother. That's hatred. I hear loose words going around as far as our brothers and sisters saying, you're a government agent. Nasi's a government agent. Well, the book says that they will come and they will say, good is evil and evil is good. That's what our scriptures tell us. So let's think, what does a government agent do? And what do a man of God do? When you go into the book of Proverbs 6, and you go into this book, one of the things that the Creator hates is lying lips and one who sows discord amongst his brothers. So when Nasi comes and expresses that unity is a must, this is something that's pulling together our people. But the government agent is sent in to divide our people and destroy our people. Do not believe the hype, brothers and sisters. See, they will take a clip from one angle or another angle, one verse over here, or they'll look at a video of mine here and say, oh, he's a student of Malachi Z. York and he's working for Z. York. But they never looked at the rest. When you see me at the debate in the question and answer period, I said I studied Malachi Z. York to debate Z. York. They would never look at the fact that I used lessons and some of the quotes and verses I used to tear down Egyptology or debate SETI was from Z. York to attack certain things. I am a student of all things. I investigate the world and I look around. I study my brothers and sisters and I see that the turmoil that they're in is deep. And it's because of the hatred that we have for one another. The book says in Ecclesiastes 7:9, it said, hatred rests in the bosom of a fool. Also, anger rests in the bosom of a fool. That's scientific, brothers and sisters. It teaches you in science that if you have a point of view, and when you're low on a level of spirituality, and you're very primitive, when you have a point of view and somebody goes against your point of view, your brain releases a neuropinephrine. That neuropinephrine is the same chemical that's released when your body's under attack or you fear for your life. So when you're on the lower levels of spirituality and someone says something that you don't agree with, you attack them as if they're attacking your life. And this neuropinephrine throws off your limbic system and sends you into a primitive state. So thus the book says anger rests in the bosom of a fool. A fool is someone who is primitive, who lacks knowledge and understanding. So never can you cover up anger and hatred and act like it's zealousness and righteousness. Let us get to these scriptures. The Creator says, seek peace and righteousness. With all my brothers and sisters, I'm looking for righteousness and peace. I don't agree with everything that's out there being taught, but I asked to build. I reached out to my brother Zabak. We got next, powerful brother. Reached out to my brothers in GOC. Reached out to all my brothers, and we decided a lot of us were going to come together and put aside the fighting and build up a powerful nation for our Creator. Well, Nasi, how do I take back that temple? I'm fighting something that's inside of me. Well, let us go to the story of Noah. Now, there are 500 creation stories in the world. In Islam, Noah is called Nu. In Hebrew, he's called Noah. English, Noah. Now, Noah had a father. We understand the physical meaning of this ark, and we understand the physical meaning of the history of it, but do we understand the spiritual allegory that's inside the Hebrew language? Noah had a father called Lamech. Lamech is an old shepherd's staff. The Mem symbolizes water, which is might. The Kaf represents a palm, which is submission. Put it together, he was a mighty leader who submitted. Submitted to what? The will of the world. Lamech represents us as a black conscious people. We were mighty, but we submitted to the will of the world and the influences that were around us. But how do you get out of submission? You have to look to Noah or Noah. In the Hebraic or the ancient Hebrew pictograph, you go into the Nun, which is a sprouting seed. A chet is a wall. This symbolizes spiritual development. The seed is growing in isolation. So the word that's translated rest in English is actually meditation. It says meditate in the Lord day and night. This meditation is something spiritual. Meditation is ceasing of thought, meaning that thoughts have to be stopped. Now, where does depression come from? Depression comes from overthinking. We're constantly thinking, but we think ourselves into depression. And when things start to jam and the frequencies start to jam, you have to reset. When your phone messes up, what do? You cut it off and start it all over. This is no different than what you're doing with meditation. Remember the old radios that you had? When you put the antenna this way and it picks up a lot of static because there's so much frequency? The more frequencies you pick up, the more scrambled your receiver becomes on receiving divine information from the Creator. So through meditation, what meditation is, prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening to God. So through meditation, you build that ark that the Creator explained. He said, build for yourself an ark. The word tebat means an empty vessel. So now we're looking at it from a spiritual perspective. The Creator is telling you through meditation, build for you a spiritual, what? An empty vessel. Meaning cleaning out all these negative, all the dark influences, the dark thoughts that are contaminating your mind. Those things that flooded into your subconscious and made you who you are. Because your subconscious is nothing but a tape recorder. It plays back the negativity that's inside or coming from the outside and plays it back on the inside, and it comes back on the outside. So what we have to do is receive that this light that the Almighty has given us and remove all these negativities and remove all the darkness and stuff and empty out ourselves and start new. You know them thoughts you have of how many people that done you wrong in your life? How many people dislike you or hate you? The people you are upset with? The man who broke your heart, the woman that broke your heart? All these things that damage you as a person, you have to let go and release. The Creator tells you, make for you an empty vessel, a tebat. He goes on to say, and make it with gopher wood, gopher etzim, or etze gopher, which nobody knows what the actual physical gopher wood is. But gopher is an unknown source, a divine source. Etzim means trees, but it also means counsel. Surround yourself with divine counsel. What is your divine counsel? This Torah. This Tanakh. So now that you're rebuilding yourself, you cleared out everything that made you who you are, because you are something what somebody made you. You are what these negative infomercials and commercials made you. You're what the music made you. All of this stuff plays on your subconscious and you spew it out. But now surround yourself with divine counsel. And making it 3 compartments. You have mind, body, and soul that the Creator ordained Noah to make it. But then he says, pitch it with pitch. When you look into the Hebrew, it says, it uses the word kippur. Kippur means atonement. This divine, empty vessel that you have just made, yourself, you have to pitch it and surround it with atonement and repentance. Remember the iniquity that you have done, and you are able to forgive those who sinned against you. Remember the iniquity you have done, and you're able to stay away from the pitfalls that caught you in life before. Always surround yourself with kippur. This is the pitch that blocks out the flood waters, which is mabul in Hebrew. But mabul comes from the Hebrew word balal, which means confusion. Once you build this divine and sacred empty vessel, surround it and build it with divine counsel, and pitch it with repentance and atonement, it'll block out all the confusion of this world. This is how you take back your temple, brothers and sisters. This is how you honor the Creator, by remembering that you are His divine temple. When you go into Numbers or go into Exodus 35, the people brought the things to build the ark or build the covenant and build the tabernacle. They also mentioned 2 men. One of the men was Bezalel. Bezalel, Uri, the son of Uri. And when you look at Bezalel, Uri, the son of Kor, you have to look at the words and see what these Hebraic thoughts mean. Bezalel was in the shadows or in the image of God or Elohim. Once you behave or act as if you're in the image of the Creator, or you shelter yourselves in the shadow of the Creator, you are protected to receive the divine light. The Uri, son of Kor. Kor means the sunlight purifying an object. So you're able to receive this purification once you connect yourself and cleave unto the divine Creator. And back to when we was talking about the neopinephrine released in your brain, the only reason or only how you can block the neopinephrine is through meditation and coming closer to the divine energy. It will block this chemical that's released in your mind. So through this, we have to understand that there's another man who assisted in building the tabernacle and the artifacts and the vessels. And his name was Aholiab. And I'll leave off with Aholiab. Aholiab Akisamak Ben Dan. Aholiab means, I am my father's tent. What tent were they talking about? The tent of meetings, the tabernacle. You are God's temple. And protected. Protected by all cause. Because those 12 tribes that surrounded the tabernacle also represents the 12 cranial nerves that surround the brain. And by protecting it, you have to protect it from sight. Stay away from iniquitous views. Stay away from hearing things that are iniquitous. Stay away from speaking things that are iniquitous. Guard yourself and allow the 12 tribes to protect that tabernacle, and you yourself take back that tabernacle. Hallelujah. All praise is due to the divine King. Amen.
Yeah. No retreat, no surrender. Yeah. Soldier music. Yeah. Here we go. Check it. I went from Babylon to Timbuktu. These dry Judean bones trembled under Rome for show. They gon' get theirs too. They're not a person exempt. Truth gotta hurt them a bit. My father told the owls, be still while I renew my strength. Now I'm out from all facets.